My friends, the message of Fatima just has a monumental, it has really a massive importance for us today. These messages from 1917 are so important for us to understand in their depth. It's almost impossible to summarize the message of Fatima in a quick shot because there's such depth. You've got the July 13th, 1917 message, which calls for us to pray the rosary to end the war, that if we do not respond to the message of Fatima, a worse war will take place under the pontificate of Pius XI. It's even the prophecy of a new pope, of the succeeding pope, because this all happened during the pontificate of Benedict XV. You have a vision of hell. You have a remedy for the reality that many people are going to hell, and that is a devotion. She literally says, God wishes to establish devotion to my Immaculate Heart. She then prophesies that, again, if the world doesn't accept this message of the rosary, of penance, of frequent confession, of reparation, that Russia would spread its errors throughout the world, the errors of communism. Various nations would be annihilated. The Holy Father would have much to suffer. But she says, in the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph, and a period of peace will be granted to the world. Now, that message is so key, my friends, that I think that justifies saying that every apparition that comes before Fatima prepares for it. Every apparition that comes to us after Fatima leads to its fulfillment, because the goal of every authentic Marian apparition during the age of Mary is the fulfillment of the triumph of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. This time of grace, this historic release of grace to help the Church get through a time of significant trial and challenge into an era of peace. Now, prominent in the Fatima message is also the call for the first Saturday devotion. In 1925, on December 10th, Our Lady appeared to then Sister Lucia. And keep in mind, this is after the other apparitions were confirmed in the solar miracle of October 13th, 1917, where 70,000 see the sun dancing in the sky, giving off different colors, coming rushing towards the earth, and then returning to its place. That was the confirmation of what Lucia asked for. She asked for a sign to confirm that these things are true. So in 1925, Our Lady appears, and she's holding out her heart encircled with thorns. And the Christ child speaks and says, behold the heart of my mother encircled with thorns due to the ingratitude of so many men, that it's pierced at every moment. And then our mother confirms that her heart is pierced at every moment through blasphemies and ingratitude to her heart. Well, that's not hard to validate, right? I mean, look at the world right now. The vast majority don't love Jesus, and even more, even some that love Jesus don't love his mother. And so that calls for global reparation. That calls for us to offer reparation. I give the example of having a family where 5 kids rebel against the parents unjustly, but the 5th kid comes up, or I should say the 6th kid comes up and says, I don't know why they rebelled. You're good parents. How much does that do to help the morale of the parents when they've just been blasted and really unjustly treated by the oldest 5? Well, we're called to be that 6th parent, that 6th child. We're called to offer reparation, to atone for the sins, not only our own sins, but the sins of all humanity. And that's so much the part of the message of Fatima. So let's go to the 5 first Saturday devotions. Our Lady has said that she will give the graces necessary for salvation. What else can heaven offer beyond that? Give the graces necessary to salvation for those who on 5 consecutive first Saturdays will go to confession, and that's within 8 days of the first Saturday itself. Receive Holy Communion, pray 5 decades of the Rosary, and meditate 15 minutes with her on any of the mysteries of the Rosary. All of those, all 4 of those, with the intention of making reparation to her heart. And that gets back to this incredible concept that we as human beings can actually balm, we can soothe, we can console the hearts of Jesus and Mary who continue to suffer mystically because of the sins of humanity. Then there was a release in June of 2000 of the 3rd secret of Fatima, where essentially you have, and that, by the way, that 3rd secret is actually revealed on July 13th of 1917 to the visionary, but not revealed to the world until John Paul II decided to do so. And that third secret talks about an angel with a flaming sword, and which symbolizes justice. And there's fire issuing forth from his sword, and it's only extinguished by the splendor or the intercession of Our Lady. Then it talks about a bishop dressed in white, talks about a Holy Father going through a ruined city. It talks about martyrdom and much difficulty. And many believe, and I believe rightly so, that this is not just in the past. Prophecy is for the purpose of future conversion. So if this is just referring to things in the past, it's missed its course. No, the third secret of Fatima has real relevance to us today. Now, I would add to the message of Fatima in terms of its focus 2 points. One is, Our Lady appears as the co-redemptrix at Fatima. October 13th, 1917, she appears as Our Lady of Sorrows. That tells us that the co-redemptrix theme is key to the Fatima message. Secondly, Our Lady calls for the triumph of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And that can only be fulfilled, my friends, as Our Lady herself has explained, through the proclamation of the fifth Marian dogma. That's right. In fact, I had the blessing and the great privilege of meeting with Sister Lucia when she was allowed out for the beatification of Jacinta and Francisco. Sister Lucia was a proponent of the fifth Marian dogma. Sister Lucia signed a petition to the Holy Father for the fifth Marian dogma. She understood that this was part of the fulfillment of the Fatima message and Our Lady's overall peace plan for the world. So, today I invite you, especially during the glorious month of May, to follow the example of Sister Lucia. Send a letter, wherever in the world you are, send a letter to Pope Francis expressing your desire that you're with him, you support him in proclaiming the fifth Marian dogma. It's part of the message of Fatima. It's part of the approved messages of Our Lady of Akita in Japan. It's part of the approved messages of Our Lady of Amsterdam in Holland. That only with the dogma, only when the Pope would proclaim that Mary is the world's spiritual mother, as co-redemptrix, mediatrix, and advocate, only with that proclamation can Mary fully exercise this role in interceding for grace. The Father will not permit anyone, even Our Lady, to impede on human freedom. And that's why it has to come from us, you see. And the highest of us is the Pope. So, during this month of May, in thanksgiving for all Our Lady has given to you and to me, I ask you, prayerfully consider writing to Pope Francis. Very easy to do. Get an envelope, put 3 postage stamps on it if you're writing from the United States, other parts of the world. You check your own postage. On the cover, Pope Francis, Vatican City, 00120. And what do you write? You write from your heart to his heart. There's 4 people that open these. If your letter is heart-moving, it gets passed on to the private secretary, possibly to the Holy Father himself. What's most important is that you write because Our Lady has asked all of us to petition the Holy Father for the proclamation of the fifth dogma as the fulfillment of the Fatima message. She has made very clear that only with this proclamation will she be able to obtain peace for the world, which is the promise of Fatima. So, during this month of May, do your part. Write to Pope Francis. Talk about a Holy Father that's open to the minds and hearts of his people. Write to Pope Francis. If it is your conviction, if you do accept and follow and obey the messages of Our Lady in asking for this proclamation, that this indeed is the time to crown her as the world's spiritual mother. Again, write to Pope Francis, Vatican City, 00120. Do your part to bring peace to the world the Marian way. This is Dr. Mark Miravalle saying thank you, God bless you, and blessed month of Our Lady in this May.